Yeah, they just gave me a new contract with that book. Nobody knows it yet, so it's not public knowledge, but I'm doing the revision to that. So it's
I
going to
saw that.
have a lot more to do with social media.
I saw that. So we'll talk about that. I saw that.
Oh,
I noticed that. The new version was coming out. All right. So we're rolling, and let me take this off the screen and get started. So there'll be an introduction that we'll put on later, and our end piece we'll put on later. But once we wrap up, if you'll just stay with me until the recording stops, and I'll let you go.
okay.
Okay. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. And I know it's not morning for some of you, but you know my standard line, good morning, because it's time to have some energy. Belinda Ellsworth is with us today. And I got to tell you, I told her before we got started, a little bit mad at her because I got her book yesterday and I started reading it. Before I knew it, it was 3 a.m. in the morning. I try to start my mornings at 4 a.m. Like, okay, this is not good, but this book, we're going to talk about the book. But Belinda, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here too, because I didn't really realize some of the different things. But before we really get deep into this, let me ask you just a quick question, and then we'll talk about this. But can you just tell us about how you found this passion? What was your journey like to find your passion about selling and marketing?
Do you know, it really started at a very, very young age. I was just always selling things. Like I wasn't a Girl Scout, but my best friend, like I'm talking young, like,
Yeah.
10, she was a Girl Scout and I was like determined that she was going to win selling the most cookies. And so, man, I would drag her around and we would sell cookies like crazy and she would win the general area person of having the most sales. And then I got a paper route when I was like 12 and built that up huge and subscription base. And just, I've always really enjoyed sales, like really from a very, a very young age. And then, so I was a musician, I was a
Okay.
drummer. And
Okay.
so I had studied music since I had been like 10 also. And so I was in the band and trying to pursue that and needed just to make some extra income. And so I started doing sales and was very, very good at it and made really good extra income while I was pursuing that music career.
Wow.
And then later on, that became what I did full time.
Well, I got to tell you, we're the same and the opposite. I studied music starting in like 4 or 5, but I hated sales. So the opposite thing. I'm still out as still not a big fan of sales, I guess, in a lot of ways. The actual sales work. So, what did you do to get involved now with your current direct marketing and the book you've written? How did you get there?
Okay. So, like I said, I was working in this doctor's office and, um, I was playing music and I was working in the doctor's office as a
Okay.
little side job
Yeah.
because my mom, I was only 18 and she wanted me to have something a little more serious. So I was
Hmm.
working for this doctor's office and I had a patient that said, hey, will you, I'm selling crystal and will you host an event for me? And you seem really fun and nice and bubbly and you seem like you'd be a fun time. So I said, sure, I'll help you out with that. And I just did really, really well. And she's like, you should do this. So I thought, this is a better side hustle than working at this doctor's office.
Yeah.
Getting up at 7 a.m. every day. So
Yeah.
I started in sales and really, really did well. And between playing and I was selling crystal and china and flatware at 18, which is crazy, but I did very, very well with it. And then I went on and did jewelry sales. And I really got involved with the direct sales industry. And then I worked corporate for a direct sales company, a jewelry company. And while I was working, I only did that for a year, but while I was doing that and doing their training, I recognized somewhere along the way that I had a really, really great knack for speaking and training. And so while I was there, we had hired a couple motivational speakers for our own conventions. And two of them there within a 6 month window of time said, "Oh my gosh, you're amazing, and you
Mm.
should be out on your own doing this professionally. This is what you should be doing professionally."
Wow.
is
Wow.
teaching sales and speaking, motivational speaking. So I was like, wow, I had never really heard that before. So kind of looked into that. And then 6 months later, I seriously just left my job and started doing motivational speaking and sales training. And I've had a 27-year career with that now. So
That's excellent. That's excellent. I wanted to ask you real quick before we dive into the book and some of the things I want to cover. You must have had a pretty good support system with your mom and parents, that type of system in order to allow you to try to be a musician and to do the sales thing.
I did. That is one thing, especially playing the drums at a very young age. And, it's not always easy to move the drum set. It's easier to move other stuff. And so
Yeah.
we always had all the rehearsals at my house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I think about that, my parents put up with a lot and then, of course, drug me and my drum set around everywhere. So super thankful about that because it could have been very, very different. So, yes, they were very
Yeah.
supportive.
Arriving at sites a half an hour early just to get your drums set up and then extra half hour to take them down every night.
That is right.
That really adds on. One area I want to talk about, I just realized this and I don't want to forget it, but in your book and some of the things I read, I think it was in one of your blogs, you talked about every goal has 3 parts. Share that with us, please.
Well, this is one thing that has been sort of evolved because I have been teaching goal setting for probably 30 years. It's kind of one of my wheelhouses, if you will. And what I've discovered specifically is that over these years, so let's say, 25 years ago, I'd ask an audience, how many of you have your goals written down and in a place where you can see it? It's about 20, 25% of an audience.
That's
Well,
right.
as the years went on, that became 13%, 10%, 8% of an audience. And so I really started delving into in the last couple of years, like, what's this fear about setting goals? And one of the things I discovered, and I've known this for a long time, is that if people do something sort of part-time or on the side, or just like a little, they think it's not worthy of setting a goal. Like people think goals have to be all in and stupendous. And so that's the first sort of misnomer is that you can have a goal with whatever you're doing.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a huge, stupendous goal. But then the second reason has really become the one that is bigger is that people are afraid of failing. So there's this fear of failure and I actually had people say, well, if I never set a goal, then I've never failed. And then this was the bigger one. If I never let anybody know what my goals are, there's never any expectations of me. And that's mind blowing to me. And so then I started delving in even deeper is how can we help people see that this isn't an end all be all. And so as I started diving into it and really learning the psychology of how people feel about goals and then what causes people to achieve them and what causes them not to stick with it. Why are some people like, oh, I persevere and other people and I have resilience where other people don't. And so as I started sort of studying this and delving into it even more is, you have to have a purpose. And you've heard that.
Yeah.
We've heard this over and over now. You got to know your why. And if you just
Mhm.
set a goal without having a purpose, well, then in a goal, all a goal really is a benchmark. If people would understand that, it's just it's a benchmark along your journey of success. It's not an end all be all. If you miss it, it's not a big deal. You're further than if you would have stayed still, and did nothing. And that's where I really started to understand is people that have a purpose. Like for example, I want to sell $5,000 this month. Well, if you don't have that attached to anything, like, well, if I did $5,000, what would that, what would that do for me, for my family? What would we do with that extra income? Or if I sold $5,000 for this whole year every month, what would my income be at the end of the year? What would we do with that? And if people are attached to that of a purpose, then they have a tendency, even if they don't hit that 5,000, if they hit 4,200, they're like, well, that's okay because I'm this much further. And that passion is that purpose is what drives them. It's what keeps them going. Versus if you just say, I'm going to try to sell $5,000 this month, and then you don't, and you have it attached to nothing, then you're just kind of like, oh, well,
Mm-hmm.
no big deal. I'll probably never be able to do that anyway. I don't know why I thought I could.
Okay.
But the third piece then, which is also huge. So the second piece then is the actual task, if you will. So I've got my purpose. Then I set up, okay, what are my benchmarks that I need to hit? But the third piece to that is, what's your plan of action? I'm sure you've heard this over the years. You got to have a plan and work your plan. And it's really, you got to have a goal, and then you work it with a plan. And a lot of people don't have a plan. They just and they don't watch their numbers. I'm a big numbers girl on everything. And people set goals and I want to sell 5,000 this month, but they have no plan. They don't break it down. Okay, that means I need to sell 1,250 a week. Well, what's your plan to sell 1,250 a week? How many people will you need to speak to? How many calls will you need to make? What if you've got a particular ticket item? What does that break down to? How many of those will you need to sell? And then when you do that, it's really not a difficult thing to hit really whatever goal you want to hit.
Yeah.
If you have those three things in line.
Cool. Love that. Let's drop into the book. Direct Selling for Dummies. First thing, I was curious as to how you were approached to write a selling or a for dummies series of books. Those are such powerful books, and yours is extremely powerful, I decided.
Thank you. It's so funny. I had driven my daughter to a rehearsal. She was in Christmas Carol. And so I was sitting there in the parking lot waiting for her to get done. And I was flipping through emails, and I saw this email that they wanted to talk to me about it. And I actually thought that it was a joke. I was like, somebody's playing a good joke on me. And, but I called them back, and they said, well, we've identified this area of direct selling as one of the fastest growing markets. And then we started doing some research, and we've identified you as one of the leading experts. And they're kind of picky about who they choose as their author.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And so I said, oh my gosh, well, thank you. And so then it was like a 4-month vetting process. It was, I did several interviews with several different people, and then I had to submit chapters, test chapters. And then I had to list all of my audience, my speaking engagements, like everything that I had that sort of supported my expertise.
Okay.
And so it was quite involved. And then we had to submit also a table of contents. So we had to figure out what the book was going to be and write 2 test chapters before we actually got the contract. And
wow.
Yeah, it was intense. It was probably one of the most intense sort of interview process and everything that I had gone through at that time. But
well, I like the idea that you talk about proven strategies and systems for the direct sales industry today. Now, I realize that I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but you're in the process of getting ready to revision the book. I think I saw on Amazon where they said revision coming soon or not available quite yet, or newest edition not available quite yet. So you're in the process of doing that. But tell us just a thought pattern about proven strategies, because we hear those all the time, but to me, strategies and systems is just one of those, I forgot the word I wanted to use, but just everybody says, oh, you got to have a strategy or you got to have a system. And we use the word all the time, but we don't really have a clear meaning on it. When you said that in your book, what did you mean?
Well, I have taught these 4 pillars of success for a very, very long time. And I guess that's probably the first piece of that sort of strategy and systems. And then you kind of break them down from there. But those 4 pillars really are focus. I find that people don't really focus in on what they like with a hardcore focus. They're too distracted with everything that they have going on. They're trying to multitask. trying to do, too many things at one time. So it's really get focused on what you want to achieve. And then you got to get committed to it. So people are also a very instant gratification society. So
Yes. Ooh, go
you,
rapid, go. Yeah.
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 So you really have to be committed, in it to win it, and understand that there's going to be ups and downs and twists and turns and and lots of no's along the way if you're in sales, but you've got to be willing to say, I'm committed. And I think that that's part of also finding that why is why are you committed? What are you committed to? The third is consistency. And now we're starting to get down into sort of the nitty gritty of systems. But you just have to continue to do the same things over and over and over again. As long as you're continuing to get the result that you want. Obviously, if you're not, then you need to switch it up and figure out what else it is. But I honestly, this is such a simple thing, and yet there are so many people that don't want to do it. It's like, make 10 calls a day or make 10 connections a day. And if people did that every day, made 10 connections in a day, and even if break it down, if it's not a full-time gig for you, it's like make 5. I can't even tell you how many people you can say that to. It's a simple thing, and it can be a game changer in your business, and yet people, they're not willing to do it.
Yeah. I was just, when you said that, I started thinking about the gentleman who reps me. And if I ask him, does he make 10 contacts a day? He'll say, well, some days I make 10. But like, if you just did 50 and at your closing rate that you currently have, we'd be happy. I wouldn't be looking for somebody else. No, if you just did 10 a day, 5 days a week, your closing rate would mean this, which would sell this, but he's not consistent with it. And you're saying that's part of the strategy, is to be consistent with it.
Absolutely. Whatever your strategy is, but I know that one for a fact. I've taught it. I've coached it to people. Like, make 10 calls a day. People have so much business, they don't even know what to do with it. That's why I say, if you have to break it down and do 5, make 5 a day. If you don't have the time, or if it's sort of a side thing for you. But I'll be honest with you, most people aren't willing to do that either. And then I'm a very consistent, like, I have systems in place. What I do on Monday, what I do on Tuesday. Like, I've always had a very solid routine. And the fourth pillar of this is the one that when I teach this live, I do the focus, and I've got all kinds of fun things I share on focus, and then I do commitment, and then I do the consistency. And when I get to organization, everybody in the audience is like, oh, it's like they just, or organization's key. And the reason it's key is the number one thing, if you were to ask anybody, what do you wish you had more of? What do you think it is? Time. It is the number one answer universally with any group of people that you will talk to. And the number one thing that sucks more of your time away from you than any other single thing is lack of organization. And so,
slap my wrist.
I know, if you want to be, if you want more time, man, get a little more organized, because we waste. See, people look at the time they spend, but they ought to look at the time they waste. And
interesting.
I'm a big, huge advocate of that. Is how much time, not do you have in a day, but how much are you wasting in a day? And we waste so much time just looking for a number, looking for a contact, looking for the pair of black pants you have hanging in that closet somewhere. But
looking for your equipment, looking for files on the computer, looking for that email that you got 6 weeks ago that you didn't follow up on. Oh, yeah.
So much time is wasted. So those are my 4 pillars: is focus, commitment, consistency, and organization. And then from those 4, then you sort of like break it down. Like, what are you focused on? I always encourage people to sort of have 4 income producing activities that they're focused on. And then committed, like how if you can't make 10 calls a day, how many days can you make them? What can you commit to? Like, what can you commit to? And then obviously consistency then is doing your tasks, and starting to create as much consistency across the board as you can. So like if you've got, social media, start learning to, when do I go live? What do I post? What do I post on Mondays? Is it Monday motivation? Is it winning Wednesday? Is it fun facts Friday? Is it, like what's it going to look like? Because if you can start to lay that out, then it's not hard to come up with ideas when you have sort of a structure or a system.
Yeah.
And then you'll fill in the gaps, and then you just stick with it. And that's where the consistency comes in. And then of course the organization piece of it is just, where do things live? Just like you said, I'm looking for that on my computer. I'm looking for an email. It's like learning to categorize things using things like Evernote, Trello. Like where do things live? So
okay. Now that kind of, I'm going to jump my order of questions, because what you just said to me just kind of makes me start to think about this idea of proven strategies. Successful people do things differently than other people. Is that part of it, the four paradigms you laid out? Is that what you mean when you say successful people do things differently? Or is there something else involved there?
Well, there's also sort of this like that is, they do things differently. They're very systematic, I think, in their approach. But I've also got these four things that successful people have in common. And I've been teaching that recently. It's been a big thing, but it's like they dream big. Like, so our theme for this year is dream, because a lot of people have put their dreams on pause and on hold because of the pandemic, and they just are been in survival mode, that they have forgotten to, allow themselves to dream about the possibilities or where they want their business to go. So successful people dream big. They're always daydreamers. They're always thinking about the next thing or what they want to do. And they're not afraid to dream like just big, audaciously,
Yeah.
And they're also enthusiastic. And enthusiasm will probably carry you further than almost anything. Even if you're not as knowledgeable as you need to be in the very beginning, your enthusiasm will attract people to you to want to know more.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. Now, you do have to master your craft. I'm a big one on mastering your craft of whatever that is.
Yeah.
But if I'm passionate and excited about it, somebody's going to ask more, whether they know how much I know or what I don't know, just by the sheer enthusiasm of it. I've been to so many trade shows in my day, not in the last 2 years, but in my day, I've been to a ton of trade shows, and I'm always amazed at where are all the people, and the people are where all the other people are, and why are they attracted to that booth? It's usually something exciting is going on in that
booth. Yeah.
It doesn't really even matter what the product is in the booth. Everybody's standing around checking out what's going on over here. There is something definitely happening over here, and I've watched it so many times. I like to go to trade shows. I've participated in trade shows, but I like to go and I like to watch and analyze, because I like to teach people how to be successful at trade shows. And I'm always blown away at where all the people are, and they're with the booth that has the most energy.
I hadn't thought about that, but now to think about the last trade show that I go to speak at, and one of the speakers, and I started thinking about the last one I was at, the one particular booth, there was a lighting booth. There's selling lighting material. Always people all the way around them. It's like, okay, well, that's kind of a boring subject, but not really, because whoever it was had so much charisma and so much enthusiasm for what they were doing. As you were telling that story, I started thinking, wow, that's what's missing at a lot of these booths, the lack of enthusiasm for what they have going.
Oh my gosh. I was at a trade show one time, and I was watching people walk by this one lady's booth, and she had it cut off with a table in front, and she was just kind of standing there, and she wasn't really saying much. And as people would walk by, she would say, hello, hello. And I was sitting in my friend's booth, kind of across from her, and her booth was gorgeous. And I was like, what the world? And So I came over there. I said, do you mind, or like, will you be offended if I give you a little bit of help? And she said, not at all. I said, okay, we're going to move this table and open this up to where it looks more like a living room. You're going to invite people in here to look at this product, because all her display was along the back wall. I said, nobody's coming in because they're afraid to come in. You're blocking my entrance and my comfort space. So I said, let's move this table over here to the side and open this up where you take away people's barrier of feeling, comfortable.
Yeah.
And then I want you, I said, I said, I'm going to do this for a hot minute. So she's like, okay. So people are walking. I'm like, hi, how you doing today? Come on in. Are you familiar with our line? Take a peek. Feel free to pick anything up off the table that you like. And, people then started coming in, and pretty soon more people are coming in her booth. And the next thing you know, because other people look around and go, oh, something exciting must be happening over there.
Contagious.
Next thing you know, 20 people are standing in her booth. So that was just kind of a fun exercise, but
it's contagious. Gosh, is that so important? That is so important. Yeah.
So enthusiasm, number 2. Number 3 is a positive attitude. You got to keep a strong positive attitude because, life's tough. You're going to get thrown curveballs. You're going to have ups and downs, and you got to keep positive. So find the things to help you stay positive.
Okay. I'm going to stop you there for one particular reason. I noticed as I was going through the book and looking at some of your blogs, that's a big issue for you. People with a positive mental attitude. What books do you recommend other than yours? Because your book seems like to me it's a master your craft kind of book. Yeah, it's motivational, but let's master our craft. But if you are going to recommend a podcast or a different book someone should read, maybe they haven't read, what would that one book be?
Oh my gosh, I can't even think of one. There used to be one on long time ago. There was a book from Jeff Keller called The Art of Positive Thinking or something like that. That's an excellent one. There's several on positive thinking, but I would say that it's more about what people can do to keep a positive attitude.
Okay.
And
great
like surrounding yourself with positive people and positive influences. Like, it's what are you taking in on a regular basis? Like you just said, books. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be a book about positive attitude, but inspirational stories, because those are, positive in is positive out. This is Les Brown's saying, it's not mine, but garbage in, garbage out, positive in, positive out. It's like you are going to put out what you take in. And so what are you taking in? You should be reading motivational books or inspirational stories. Sometimes when I really want to be inspired, I like reading autobiographies of people that have had a great success story, because you realize, man, it wasn't like what you see on the outside. It wasn't an overnight success. And I think that's always helpful for people to see. The other thing that I would say is keeping a gratitude journal. And I wasn't really a big, huge gratitude journal person throughout my younger years, because I'm really good at setting goals kind of by myself. And, but I had a gentleman on my podcast that said, people that set goals, people that use gratitude journals have a 40% greater chance of achieving their goals. So I got kind of really excited about that and started looking up more about it. But really, when you're in a mindset of gratitude, you have more of an abundancy mindset instead of a scarcity mindset. You tend to look at things through what's possible instead of what's impossible or what's a challenge. You look at your day full of possibilities, instead of how overwhelmed you are or what's standing in your way of being successful. But there's even research today, real current research in that it just creates keeping a gratitude journal keeps a more healthy mental wellness, well-being, as well as a physical well-being. Doctors are starting to use gratitude journals in treatment protocols with stroke patients and with other people. So it's just really interesting. So those things can help you,
keep that positive mental attitude.
A positive attitude. And then having a good support system, like you said. You need to have your 3 people that are going to support you no matter what. And they might not be the closest people to you. So it's important to find out who they are and people constantly, I wish my so-and-so was more supportive. I wish my brother, I wish my mom, I wish my husband, I wish whatever. Well, quit wishing on that. It's like, find your support tribe and just those are the people you call on when you're having, and your support tribe should be there to lift you up or to spur you on when you're doing great. And a lot of people don't realize that's when you can actually see the greatest result is when you're doing a really good job. And then your support person needs to be there to pick you up when you're down. But it's an interesting thing because I consult with different companies on their sales and marketing strategies, and companies are like, when they're doing great, they don't want to hire a consultant. Like they're like, they won't hire a consultant when things are going downhill. And I always say to them, you'd be better off to hire a consultant when things are going great, because you can spur on a sales force and spur on people to do, if you support people and spur them on and make them feel like, wow, they can set the world on fire. But when they're already in that mindset of, I can't do this, it's not working, I can't, doesn't matter how many people I talk to, my no's outweigh my yeses, it's hard to spur on a sales force that is already feeling defeated.
Yes, so it is.
It's interesting, but I see that all the time.
Yeah, I think we both do. I always think of the book, The $1 Trillion Consultant. I can't remember, it's about Bill Campbell. But the idea that, he went to these top companies and said, you need me right now while things are going good so I can push you to the next level.
Yeah.
Let's not wait to start going sideways or until you get some bad press. Let's do it now. Let's get a hold of your CEOs and go to work with them now. So I love that thought, and that's a good coordinating thought. I want to ask you about something that you talked about a little bit in your book, the right direct sales model. But before I talk to you about that, what is direct sales?
Direct sales, and it's there's a specific industry around direct selling, but all direct sales means really is that you are selling direct to consumer. Okay. So there is not a retail establishment. There's not a brick and mortar store. You're an independent contractor, and you usually represent a company, and you're usually paid strictly on commission. So people don't think of direct sales as real estate and insurance and things, but in reality, they are. They fit that criteria for sure.
But they're more about, I'm sorry, I just want to ask, but their business to consumer is more of direct sales than business to business?
Yes. Yes. So that, at least my understanding of that in direct sales is, I guess there is business to business, but usually you won't have, I guess there are sales reps for those companies too. But when I see business to business of my friends that are in sales, it's more of a salaried position plus commissions or bonuses, versus when you're a sales rep for a company and you're selling direct to consumer, you're usually strictly on commission.
Yeah. And that's what I found interesting. I just had not been able to put that together for my company yet. We end up, it's a whole nother story, so we'll let that one go. But that's why I found so interesting about your book, because number one, I was a little bit confused by it, by just the term of direct sales. And then I scanning the chapters, the right direct sales model. That hit me like home. I said, I should go to that, but no, read from front to end. Don't jump chapters like I wanted to do. Give us a highlight, just a high level view of what the right direct sales model might be for different areas.
Well, there is in this particular book, and we're referring to it, it is what we call social selling. So either direct to one-to-one selling or one-to-many. So people do that through presentations or, online. Some people refer to it as a, party or herbal hours or just a presentation of some kind. So there's social selling. There's sort of network marketing, which you're kind of more consumer user. So you love a product, you've used it, you really like it, and so you're sharing it with other people because of how much you liked the product. That usually requires having just a lot of customers.
Mm-hmm.
And that is more of a network marketing approach where sort of a social selling product is you're literally selling the product, not just,
Okay.
hey, how would you like to get on this, health and wellness product and use it every month and just having thousands of users versus going out and saying, hey, let me show you how this cookware works and in actually doing a little presentation on why the cookware is great, how it works, and then selling it. So that is a more of a social selling model. And then most recently, the sort of new thing, and they don't necessarily call themselves direct sellers, but they are, and that's these influencers. Like on Instagram and such. And so, and a lot of companies are starting to recognize the influencers for the brand they've built around themselves. This is sort of the newest piece to this direct sales model. But companies are starting to, pay influencers for sharing their products. So,
Okay. Okay. So now I correlate that to being the last one to being like an affiliate marketer. You
mhm.
find a
Yep.
product
Some
and you.
people call that influencer affiliate marketing. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Um, if I may ask, because I want to honor your time, but can I ask you kind of a selfish question? I'm allowed, I hope. I just
Sure.
have one selfish question. We're struggling with our sales model, our sales program. And after reading through some of your work and then thinking about it in the past, is it does it make sense? Or how would I go out and find direct sales reps to sell our program? How do I reach out and connect with new people like that? People who maybe not used to personal development work, or they're used to selling a product but not used to selling a service or a class or something like that. But how do you reach out? How do you suggest I reach out and find people who would be a good fit?
So, I would suggest probably today that any social media platform, even on LinkedIn, and just saying, I'm looking for, people that want to earn extra income. Are you looking for a fun, flexible way to make some extra income selling, this service? That is kind of probably the best way. The best way is to get so the direct sales model is usually built on finding some really good sales reps, but then letting them find your sort of another group of sales reps. So by paying them even a small percentage of what the people they might bring in. So people don't realize it, but insurance sales is very similar to that.
It is, yeah,
Um,
absolutely that.
Yep. And so people, they go into the insurance firm and they're paid whatever commission. But if they, you know, bring along a buddy that like he would be great at this, he would be great at selling these insurance sales. They might give the original guy, a small percentage of his sales. That's kind of, and that's for training them, for bringing them, for whatever. That's kind of where the power lies is finding sort of some people, that original group sort of in,
So, okay.
and sometimes you can even say I'm looking for but I would think that you would be able to use that on social media platforms. And the other thing that you can do is go to the best person to sell for you is usually one of your best customers. That's
Yeah.
what I've always found. They believe in the product. They've bought the product numerous times. They to sell that product for them is really, really easy. So when I find a super enthusiastic customer, it's like, well, how would you like to make some extra income by representing this product?
Okay. I
That
can
would
do
be
that.
that probably be my number one approach, and then sharing it on your social media platforms. But your customer, that customer that you have that is sort of your super fan, they are gonna be more likely to be able to sell it. And if they aren't, then they probably have a friend who is the personality. Oh my gosh, no, that's not me.
But so and so
My,
is,
my
yeah. Yeah.
sister is though. That's my sister. And
Yeah.
you're like, and so then offering a referral gift to somebody that sends you someone. So referral programs are huge, and most businesses don't enact them in the degree that they should.
Okay, that one I cannot disagree with at all. Most people don't even bother to say thank you
I know.
for the original part of the business, let alone thank you for referring me a new customer.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing. My son just started his own insurance company, actually, after being very successful for about the last 7 years.
Mhm.
And he said, where should I go first? And I said, oh my gosh, start a referral program straight out of the gate. And every one of your really good customers that you've had for a number of years, let them know you're starting your own company and that you'd love a referral and offer them a gift. Um,
Yeah,
and I said, and he was like, okay. And then I talked to him a couple days ago. He's like, oh my gosh, that is like every one of them's giving me like 3 names. And I'm giving them like this Visa card and or whatever he's giving them, dinner card,
yeah,
Visa card, whatever.
yeah,
And he's like, Amazon gift card. He's like, it's going absolutely crazy. And he's like, and then they're so excited that because when I first asked them for referrals, a lot of them just gave me the names and I didn't give them anything. And then I gave them something and then they were like, oh, I got 3 more people. Like
yeah,
they're
yeah,
just super
yeah. I want a cup of
grateful.
coffee. Give me, yeah,
I
that's what I
know,
mean.
right?
Yeah, just say thank you. I'm saying, yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. That is too cool right there. And it's kind of disappointing that people forget that. That's just a real simple thing to say thank you
Hmm.
for being a customer and thank you for giving me someone else to possibly work with. Someone else to possibly work with. I want to know, what are you doing right now to help others?
Oh gosh. So, in the direct selling space, which is where I've trained for so many years, we do free Tuesday night calls every single Tuesday night at 9 p.m. on my business page. And it's all kinds of great stuff. And there, it's a different subject every single week.
Like,
Um, so we do
just
that. I've
is that
got,
on your website there, Step Into
yep.
Success? Okay.
I have an awesome, awesome, awesome planner for people in sales.
I saw that.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
awesome. Like there's so much thought that has gone into this planner with everything from vision boards to goal setting to plus I have 21 video trainings that are embedded into the planner throughout on different pages. It's got analytics in it, stats for keeping track of where you're at. And it's just a really, really, really good planner. And it comes with a variety of accessory items, including that gratitude journal that we spoke about. So we have
Mm.
a really awesome gratitude journal. It's just like every day, 5 things you're grateful for, but it also has prompts about. I found that people last year said to me, I have a hard time. I know it seems ridiculous every day thinking about what I'm grateful for. So we added prompts like, you know, things like in your home, what are the things that bring you joy? What are the things? So by giving people prompts, they're like, oh, yeah, I am grateful
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that. Oh,
What
yeah,
do
I
you see
forgot about
outside?
that.
Yeah,
Oh, I forgot about the
yeah,
outdoors.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
anyway, the prompts have been really helpful for people. So I'm doing
So
that. And then
fun.
I have a podcast called Work from Your Happy Place.
Okay.
And we do 2 sets of interviews per week. We do entrepreneur interviews on Mondays. I have
Hmm.
Tuesday tips on Tuesday, just business strategy tips. And we do artists on Thursdays. So our artists are really great about building that fan base. They're more right brain versus our business entrepreneurs are more left
Yeah.
brain. So
Just be
it's a good
logical. Yeah, yeah.
good combination of skill sets that
It
are
is.
shared on each of those days.
Okay, cool, cool. And that's good. And so the website's there. I'm going to suggest you go to it, but I'm also going to suggest that people go get the book. I mean, there's a Kindle edition of it, which I had to get because I wanted to read it last night. But then I realized there's Kindle, there's audio, and I'm Audible.
Yep.
And then I'm actually going to go ahead and I paid to have the hard copy sent because anything I like, I always get a hard copy of it too. So you made a little bit of money
Okay.
off of me last night, just a little bit, just a little bit. But that's not here. There, it seems to be really powerful and useful. My last question for you. Now, your executive asked me what question am I going to ask you? I kind of said, I'm not going to tell you. I want to tell. I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you what the first one is, because conversations shouldn't be pre-planned. So this is a question that's kind of hard, and I'll
Okay.
admit that it's a hard one. So here it is. So what question should I have asked you that I didn't ask you? What question should I have asked you that I did not ask you?
Mm. Gosh, we covered a lot of really good ones. So I would say you asked me about tools, you asked me about my strategies, and um, I guess I would say the big one that people don't ask is we've talked about what to do to be successful, but like what holds people back from being successful? I guess that's probably
Okay.
the big one, because that's just as big as actually doing.
So what
And
holds you back?
what holds people back is their belief system in themselves.
Oh.
So what holds people back is mastering their craft.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People really don't want to do that these days. You got to put the time in to learn something and to be good at it and to be excited about it. I think what holds people back, the number one thing though, and it's as old as time, but still is very applicable, is they simply do not ask. Um,
Mm.
it's really interesting because I've interviewed lots of people that started in a direct sales business and then quit, like before they even really got started. Like quit within days of deciding, I think I'm going to do this, and asked people why. And so then they said, well, I asked 3 people if they'd help me out or if they wanted to buy or whatever. I got 3 no's and I decided it wasn't going to work. But I was really curious. So I know that people hate rejection. They don't know how to like realize rejection has got nothing to do with them. But I said, well, how did you ask? And it was really interesting because I interviewed quite a few people from all different types of product lines, from skincare to home decor to cookware to wine to uh, other types of foods. I mean, you name it. Like there wasn't jewelry, there wasn't a product line that we left out of the mix just so that we could see different responses. And every one of them was the same.
Uh-oh.
And they said, well, I called my friend and I said, hey, have you ever heard of this? This is what I'm doing. If you need anything, let me know.
Oh.
And there was not a single question in there at all. There was no ask. And
Yeah.
so you've got all these people just quitting before they get started because they're really just afraid to ask. And I find that with everything. People are just afraid to ask, I need your help, or here's how I could use your help. Have you ever thought about this? Are you needing this? Do you ever find you struggle with this? Like people just are afraid to ask because they're afraid to hear no, is what it really comes down to.
You know, you just coached me a lot. You just personally just coached me. So I got to say thank you, because I realize sometimes now that you said that, and I think this is a problem for a lot of people, we don't ask. We say, well, if I can help you, instead of saying, what can I do to help you?
Mm-hmm.
We kind of
You
try to
skirt it.
soften. Yeah, we skirted. We soften the blow by skirting the actual yes or
Ask.
no. And if you had the consistency and you had the program in place, the system in place, you would know that you need to get turned down 50 times to get the 2 yeses.
Yep.
So just count that as a victory. That's 1 of my no's, that's 2 of my no's, that's 25 of my no's. Oh, I got a victory here.
Yep.
And so just asking should be the win.
It should, and that's the thing. Asking should be the win. And here is, and then you learn how to ask. So then
Yes.
once you just start asking, then you get better at asking.
Yes.
You get better at the right questions to ask to get, the conversation going so that you can at least talk about what it is that you have. But yeah, all those people, there were probably 50 people. I said, pretend like I'm the person that you asked. And not a single one of them asked me anything. Not a single one.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, not really, but yeah, it is amazing, but it's really not. I mean,
It was amazing to me. I was like, wow. And this is why people are deciding they're not good at this. It's amazing to me.
I haven't really asked. Fantastic. Well, Belinda, I'm catching myself from calling you Belinda. My sister's name is Delinda, while yours is Belinda. So I'm trying to stop that, make sure that doesn't happen. I want to thank you for your time, though.
Thank
Very,
you for
very,
having
very
me.
good. I think we're going to get a lot of good information from it. I do appreciate it. Let me put your website back up there one more time so everybody knows where to go, and get your book from there, and get the planner. I think that when I was looking at that, I said, that's very good.
It
Very good.
is really good.
And it's a lot better than the one that I offer. So go there. If you're in sales, go there. Don't look at that. That's great. That's absolutely great. So thank you very much for that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a great talk. We'll talk to you really soon.